referred to the Standing Committee on National Defence.
Or if a member of a recognized party participating person wishes to request a recorded division, I would invite them to rise and indicate it to the chair. The honourable member for Kenora-Key-Watanong.
Mr. Speaker, we'd like to request a recorded division.
I think the member might want to repeat that.
Taken, I hope it's carried on division.
Is it agreed? Agreed as ordered. The motion is carried on division.
Second reading of this bill, deuxième lecture de ce projet de loi.
Accordingly, the bill stands referred to the Standing Committee on National Defence. Statements by members. Déclaration de député. The honourable member for Burnaby Central.
Mr. Speaker, last week I had the honor of welcoming Nipuan chorus to Burnaby Central. This award-winning indigenous youth chorus from Kaohsiung, a city in southern Taiwan, represent the proud people of Bunong. Through their extraordinary harmonies, they share the stories of identity, resilience, and belonging, offering songs cross oceans and awaken of the heart of those who listen. Their visit reminds us that reconciliation and respect for indigenous people are not bound by geography. They are universal values. From the Bunong people in Taiwan to the First Nation, Inuit, and Métis here in Canada, indigenous communities teach us the meaning of courage, culture, and harmony with the land. Thank you to Tianjin Temple and Jeffrey Yu in Burnaby for organizing this tour, allowing Canadians to experience the beauty of Bunong culture and the unifying power of music. I invite all members of this House to answer the call, to listen, to learn, and to stand together with indigenous people so that we may honor their legacy and build a future defined by mutual respect. Merci beaucoup.
The honourable member for Edmonton Northwest.
Earlier this week, I had the honor of witnessing the opening of the Chief Cropbeard Wolf Peacemaking Centre on the Blood Tribe in Alberta. The Blood Tribe has invested tens of millions of dollars of their own source revenue to build their own judicial centre and system, true nation building, and the first of its kind in Canada. Throughout their history, Blood Tribe has always sought to uphold self-determination and be good treaty partners alongside the Crown and government. But it's been more than a year since the Supreme Court confirmed that the Blood Tribe was shorted over 162 square miles of land promised under the Blackfoot Treaty, Treaty Number 7, and the Liberal government still refuses to make things right. Blood Tribe patiently waited in good faith for 50 years, even proactively sent a settlement proposal to Cernak, yet the Liberals hide behind silence and delay and can't progress on an agreement that both sides already accepted in principle. Conservatives know that treaty rights are confirmed under Section 35. The Crown gave its word. It's time for the Liberal government to keep it.
The Honourable Member for Terrebonne. Mr. Speaker, October 11th is the International Day of the Girl Child. I would like to send a message of gratitude, encouragement, and hope to all the young girls in our community from coast to coast, from all communities, including racialized and indigenous communities. Your voice matters. Your commitment is invaluable. In every sphere of public life, whether it be education, health, the environment, technology, or governance, your involvement instills a profound humanity and a quiet strength that transforms our society. I invite you to believe in your potential and never give in to obstacles. Keep dreaming, keep acting, keep transforming. Because you need to be ready, because every step you take forward is a victory for humanity. Thank you.
For Kamloops, Shuswap, Central Rockies.
Mr. Speaker, today, October 10th, Bill C-291 from the 44th Parliament comes into force to eliminate the term child pornography from Canada's Criminal Code and federal statutes. Thanks to the work of my colleague from Kamloops, Thompson-Nicola, right behind me, and support from both sides of the House, our laws will now call it what it really is: child sexual abuse and exploitation material. Words matter. For too long, the criminal code contained the misnomer that failed to reflect the reality of child sexual abuse and exploitation material. This change to our laws is a small but important amendment that must be followed by other actions to fight child sexual abuse and exploitation. Parliament's unanimous support for this bill reflects the common sense of the legislation that formally aligns Canada's terminology with that of our international enforcement partners, as was recommended by the 2016 Luxembourg Guidelines. I thank my colleague from Kamloops, Thompson-Nicola, and fellow legislators for passing this bill and contributing to results that benefit all Canadians.
Hear, hear.
The Honourable Member for Saint-Boniface Saint-Vital. Mr. Speaker, the great French playwright Molière says, slow-growing trees bear the best fruit. And if that is true, what juicy fruit does the Théâtre Cercle Molière, which has just celebrated its 100th anniversary, offer us? The centennial is much more than a birthday. It is living proof of the strength, resilience, and creative genius of Franco-Manitoban culture. Last week in Winnipeg, I had the privilege of attending the Siècle Molière Gala, a dazzling celebration of Canada's oldest operating theatre, which is a true pillar of Francophone artistic life in the prairies. For a century, the TCM has been bringing stages to life, training generations of artists, and promoting our communities with spirit, audacity, and passion worthy of the great Molière himself. Congratulations to the entire Cercle Molière team for 100 years of creativity and artistic dedication.
Sound Muskoka.
Mr. Speaker, this government's own housing agency reports that mortgage delinquencies are up, but the worst is yet to come. The CMHC estimates that interest rates for homes will continue to climb. There's about 2 million Canadians about to renew their mortgages next year, and they will face new rates 3% higher than even during the pandemic. The housing crisis in this country is quickly becoming a catastrophe under this Liberal government. This Prime Minister's promise was to build, baby, build. But under his government, home starts have stopped in Toronto and Vancouver, and mortgage delinquency rates have skyrocketed. In fact, since 2022, mortgage delinquency rates have shot up 64%, Mr. Speaker. It's no wonder that now 9 in 10 Canadians are worried about housing. This Prime Minister's plan looks an awful lot like the last one's plan. All talk, no action. Canadians need our Conservative plan that will restore affordability, get homes built, and restore the dream of home ownership to Canadians once again.
The honourable member for Sydney Glace Bay.
Mr. Speaker, in Cape Breton, hockey's more than a game. It's part of who we are. And for almost 40 years, one voice has carried that spirit through Centre 200, and that's Dave LeBlanc. If you've ever been to an Eagles game, you've heard Dave. His voice wasn't just calling goals, it was part of the soundtrack of our community. He's been through every season, every anthem, and every young player's first shift on home ice. Now, after nearly 4 decades, Dave is hanging up the mic. On behalf of the Sydney Glace Bay residents and everyone who's cheered at Centre 200, I want to thank him for being the voice of Cape Breton hockey. Steady, proud, unmistakably one of our own. Congratulations, Dave, and enjoy every bit of your well-deserved retirement.
Well said.
The honourable member for Aurora Oak Ridges, Richmond Hill.
Mr. Speaker, Liberal hug-a-thug policies have created crime and chaos in our communities. After 10 years of reckless Liberal laws, there are 29% more homicides, 76% more sexual assaults, and 330% more incidents of extortion. Mr. Speaker, Canadians deserve to feel safe in their parks, streets, and own homes. After years of Liberal catch-and-release policies, they don't. Countless Canadians are victimized every day in violent attacks, home invasions, and carjackings. In the last 2 weeks in Richmond Hill, 2 brutal executions in broad daylight in once quiet and safe neighborhoods, Mr. Speaker. It shouldn't be this way. Earlier this week, the Liberals had an opportunity to vote with Conservatives to scrap Liberal bail, but they didn't. Mr. Speaker, we need jail, not Liberal bail. Only Conservatives will repeal the disastrous Liberal soft and crime policies and laws and bring safer streets back to our communities.
The honourable member for Beauharnois, Salaberry, Soulanges, Huntingdon. Mr. Speaker, today I am proud to mark the 45th anniversary of the Beauharnois Volunteer Centre, a pillar of solidarity and generosity in our community. Since its founding, this center has embodied civic engagement and dedication to the most vulnerable members of our community. Thanks to its passionate volunteers and dedicated team, it provides essential services that tangibly improve the quality of life of our fellow citizens. Whether through food assistance, support for seniors, or assistance for families, the Volunteer Center is an inspiring model of kindness and mutual aid. I'd like to thank warmly all those who have contributed to its success. Your work is invaluable and your impact is immeasurable. I'd like to take this opportunity to congratulate Louise Lebrun, who has been the executive director for over 30 years and is now taking a well-deserved retirement. Happy 45th anniversary and long live the Beauharnois Volunteer Centre.
Order. The honourable member for South Shore St. Margaret's.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Happy World Egg Day, everybody, a celebration that unites people around the globe in honor of one of nature's most perfect foods, the egg. Across Canada, more than 1,200 egg farmers work every day to produce fresh, local, high-quality eggs for families to enjoy year-round. Here in South Shore St. Margaret's, incredible producers like DeLong Farms, a third-generation farm, carry on proud farming traditions, providing nutritious foods while supporting local jobs and sustainable agriculture. With a flock of nearly 40,000 hens, DeLong's Farms has become one of our major wholesalers of eggs in Western Nova Scotia, ensuring that families across our region enjoy nutritious, made in Nova Scotia eggs. As Roger Pellicero, our chair of Egg Farmers of Canada, reminds us, eggs are truly the perfect food, protein-packed and endlessly versatile. Now let's get cracking.
Gentleman member for Fundy Royal.
Speaker, this Prime Minister is going to spend millions, if not billions, of taxpayers' dollars to confiscate the property of the good guys, law-abiding firearms owners, instead of going after the bad guys. Liberal laws have actually led to more gun crime. Incredibly, gun crime is up 130% under this government. Licensed firearms owners follow the rules, unlike the violent criminals shooting up the streets with smuggled guns who are then released on Liberal bail over and over again. In Cape Breton, these Liberals are spending $103,000 taxpayer dollars just in administration fees to confiscate 200 firearms from vetted, law-abiding gun owners. It's clear to Conservatives, Canadians, police, and even the Liberals' public safety minister that this gun grab won't make us safer, won't keep criminals in jail, and won't stop smuggled guns from coming into Canada. Liberals need to do the right thing and end this waste of taxpayers' dollars.
Right on.
Labrador.
Mr. Speaker, I rise in this chamber today to pay tribute to the life and legacy of my dear friend, Mrs. Caroline Romke. Mrs. Romke was the beloved life partner of the late William Bill Romke, the former Member of Parliament for Labrador and Senator for Canada. On behalf of all Labradorians, this House, and all Canadians, I extend heartfelt condolences to her children, Peter, Hillary, and their families on her passing. Mrs. Romke was admired and loved by many. Her guiding words were these: "It doesn't take much effort to be kind," and she lived by that guidance every day. Throughout her husband's parliamentary career, Carolyn stood beside him with unwavering support, while also providing leadership and inspiration in her own way. Her example reminds us that beside every parliamentarian stands a strong partner, whose encouragement and sacrifice makes public service possible. Today, as we honor Mrs. Caroline Romke, we also recognize that all spouses, partners, and family who quietly give so much to allow us all to serve. Thank you.
The honourable member for Kamloops, Thompson-Nicola.
The Prime Minister's tenure has been marked by broken promises. Canadians want integrity. They want their government to keep its promises, and this Prime Minister has failed. This Prime Minister promised us the fastest growing economy. He's given us the fastest shrinking economy, the second highest unemployment, and the worst household debt in the G7. Oh, it's true, Mr. Speaker. It's true. Mr. Speaker, this Prime Minister promised that he could be judged by food prices at the grocery store. Meanwhile, prices are rising faster today than when he became Prime Minister. He promised to build, baby, build, but all he's done is block, baby, block. Elbows up, he said, and dollar-for-dollar tariffs are coming. Instead, he has removed tariffs without getting anything in return. He says one thing, he does another. The Prime Minister's corporate buddies at Brookfield are making out like bandits while Canadians live check to check, lined up at the food bank. That's wrong.
The Honourable Member for Ottawa, Vanier-Gloucester. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today to pay tribute to Miss Thérèse Frère, a resident of Ottawa, Vanier-Gloucester, who recently passed away at the age of 98. She was a remarkable artist, and her spouse suddenly passed away, and then she had to raise 6 children. Now, she devoted herself to pastel, her medium of choice, which allows her to capture with great sensitivity the movement and changing light of nature. She studied here in Ottawa, and then she captures images from Quebec, from Europe, from the United States, and especially from Newfoundland and Labrador, which she loved. She created 150 works of art to support young people and many more to other associations. She was also appreciated and respected for her dedication to the Franco-Ontarian culture and heritage. She has received many awards. So on behalf of the residents of my community, I offer my sincere condolences to her family and loved ones. May she rest in peace.
For Regina Wascana.
Mr. Speaker, during the election campaign, the Prime Minister promised to build, baby, build. He promised to fast-track nation-building projects. And these projects would be built at a speed not seen in generations. And he said he was committed to building the strongest economy in the G7. Unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, most of us thought he was talking about the Canadian economy, not the United States. When the Prime Minister was in Washington this week, he promised to invest $1 trillion in the American economy. And that's on top of the $500 billion in investment that fled Canada in the last 5 years and the $50 billion that left just this year. Mr. Speaker, Canadians deserve a government that keeps its promises and stands up for Canadian jobs and Canadian investment in the Canadian economy.
Member for Fredericton, Oromocto.
Great job, Cranberry. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to take a moment to commemorate the life of a beloved constituent, Ruth Phyllis Kavanagh. Ruth devoted her life to serving her community. She was a founding member of Fredericton's Transition House in 1980, the province's first shelter for abused women and children. She later took on the important role of coordinator at the Oromocto and Area Food Bank. Under her leadership, the food bank expanded to include clothing and furniture, recognizing that nourishment comes in many forms: warm meals, warm coats, and a place to sit with dignity. Son énergie n'a jamais diminué, même.
Her energy never went down, especially even at her older days. She will be missed by the community. In every family she reached out to and helped out, and every volunteer she inspired, we see a legacy, a piece of legacy.
An unwavering dedication to her family and community. She will be remembered by many. Thank you.
Oral questions. Question orale. The Honourable Member for Sherwood Park, Fort Saskatchewan.
Liberal policies are causing a deepening youth unemployment crisis, leaving the next generation in an increasing state of desperation. Today's unemployment numbers show a further spike in youth unemployment, now up to 14.7% and approaching 500,000 unemployed Canadian youth. Youth unemployment was already at recession levels before these further increases. Liberals promise change, but their broken promises are pushing yet more young people out of work. Do they understand that these unemployment numbers aren't just hurting youth today, but are setting them up for more struggle and pain throughout their lives?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary, the Secretary of State for Youth.
Mr. Speaker, let's talk about those jobs numbers today. Statistics Canada reported that employment has increased by 60,000 jobs. That is 28,000 jobs in manufacturing, 14,000 new jobs in healthcare, 106,000 full-time jobs, Mr. Speaker. We have a plan, we are making progress, and we are going to be there to create good-paying, career-starting jobs for all Canadians.
The Member for Sherwood Park, Fort Saskatchewan.
Mr. Speaker, only an out-of-touch Liberal would try to congratulate themselves when we have a significant increase in youth unemployment in this country. These are the facts. Over 17,000 young people in Ontario alone lost their jobs in the last month. Overall unemployment remains at 17.1% and continues to increase in major cities, including the city where that parliamentary secretary is supposed to represent. How can these Liberals dare try to pat themselves on the back when Statistics Canada today shows even more young people out of work?
Very good.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, let's deal in facts here. These jobs numbers are for September. At the end of a summer, many youth are actually leaving jobs, going back to school, back to other work. But coming back to what the Liberal government is doing, we're investing $1 billion, for example, in Red Seal trades for apprenticeships. We're investing in work-integrated learning. We're investing in co-ops, Mr. Speaker. But most importantly, we are going to be building the houses and investing in the projects that are going to create tens of thousands of jobs for all Canadians right across the country, beginning with our young people.
No, member for Sherwood Park, Fort Saskatchewan.
Mr. Speaker, the Parliamentary Secretary said these numbers might reflect young people leaving the workforce to go back to school. That suggests she doesn't actually understand how the unemployment rate is calculated, because the unemployment rate is the percentage of those in the workforce who are trying to work and aren't able to. And the unemployment rate has gone up. It's approaching 15%, approaching 500,000 young people who are unemployed. That's 1 in 7. Mr. Speaker, it's time for the government to stop trying to pat themselves on the back and recognize that this is a crisis for Canadian young people. It's time for them to reverse course. When will they?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, the data doesn't lie. In September, we created over 100,000 new full-time jobs in this country. Those are good jobs for all Canadians. We are embarking on a plan that is going to not only build projects, but build homes, make those homes more affordable for young Canadians, and bring forward next month a budget that is going to make a generational investment in Canadian industry, Canadian workers, Canadian families. I really hope that the members opposite can convince their whips to vote for it.
The Honourable Member for Kenora-Kiiwatanong.
Canada has the slowest growing economy in the G7 and the second highest unemployment, Mr. Speaker, and young Canadians are paying the price. The youth unemployment rate is nearly 15%, which is the highest it has been since 2010, with the exception of the COVID years, Mr. Speaker. 17,000 young people in Ontario have lost their jobs in the last month, and this Prime Minister wants to send $1 trillion of investment to the United States, which will only lower wages and push jobs to the south. Mr. Speaker, with rising youth unemployment, why is this Prime Minister selling out young Canadians?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, it seems the Conservatives have an allergy to the facts. Fact, Canada created 60,000 net new jobs last month. Fact, Canada has experienced real wage growth year over year of 3.3%. Those are good stats, Mr. Speaker. These are the economic fundamentals that will allow Budget 2025 to make a generational investment in our economy. I'd offer the Conservatives a Benadryl, but maybe they could just accept the truth for once.
The Honourable Member for Côte-du-Sud-Rivière-du-Kataskamekw-Témiscouata. Mr. Speaker, Canada is still seeing the slowest economic growth in the G7 and the second highest unemployment rate. And today, things aren't getting any better. Unemployment has ticked up to 17%, despite all the promises of the Liberals. Cherry on top, the government is now promising to fork over $1 trillion to the United States. Why is the Prime Minister sacrificing our workers to help out the Americans? The Honourable Minister of Public Works. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's always interesting to hear Conservatives repeat the same talking points that their leader writes for them, but the facts don't lie. Statistics Canada has just noted 106 new full-time jobs in September alone. This proves that the government is serious. We have a serious plan to grow the Canadian economy, unite the Canadian economy, and invest in Canada. The Honourable Member. It's all very well and good to clap your hands, but the reality is that jobs are disappearing in Canada, including in rural areas. People are struggling to pay their bills. Now, the Prime Minister is promising to invest $1 trillion in the United States instead of helping out Canadian workers. Why is the Prime Minister creating jobs in the States instead of in Canada? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, it's fascinating for anyone watching Question Period to witness the lack of understanding on the part of the Conservatives. Sure, their leader likes writing them little quips and slogans, but on this side of the House, we are working to unite the Canadian economy, invest in our young people so that they have good jobs, invest in housing, build our country. And just today, Statistics Canada announced 106,000 jobs created in September alone. The Honourable Member. Mr. Speaker, the conflict with Donald Trump is far from over, yet Ottawa is already leaving our workers behind. On October 11th, Ottawa will be cutting its emergency EI access measures. It will change the unemployment rate beyond which more workers will be able to qualify. It will also begin discriminating between the various classes of workers to the detriment of seasonal workers, contract workers, and more besides. Yesterday, all of Quebec's central labor bodies told the Liberals to back off. Will they listen to unions and continue to protect our workers? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Mr. Speaker, we support the retirement security of healthcare workers. We are also investing in training and unions. We are building major projects. We are creating tens and thousands of quality jobs across the country for workers. Our government will continue to support unions and unionized workers. The Honourable Member for Cote Nord, Kawawa-Shikamash Natasanan. Mr. Speaker, the same Prime Minister that came back from Washington empty-handed cannot now abandon workers as though the trade war was over. All of Quebec's central labor bodies are asking Ottawa to keep up its emergency employment insurance access measures. They also note that had Liberals reformed the EI system 10 years ago, as they promised, we would not need emergency measures today. Our workers deserve a trustworthy framework, but at least in the short term, will Ottawa back off from its October 11th cuts? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Workers right across the board and in making EI easier to access. In addition to that, we're investing in all sorts of union training and skilled trades, building major projects in new homes, and creating tens of thousands of good jobs right across the country. Our government is going to continue to stand with workers, make sure that they have access to the programs that are going to support them through these volatile times. I hope the members are on board with that.
The Honourable Member for Beauharnois-Salaberry-Soulanges-Huntingdon. Mr. Speaker, clearance rack drivers constitute a public danger. Sure, Ottawa is tightening up tax laws applied to trucking businesses. We agree with that. It's a good first step. But one step is not enough when people are dying on our roads, and Quebec is launching a public inquiry. Temporary immigrants should not be allowed to incorporate. Traffic officers should be better equipped. There should be automatic audits. And that's just the beginning. When will Ottawa finally use all the powers at its disposal to end this trend of clearance rack drivers? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As my colleague across the way knows, licensing is up to the provinces. So it's up to provinces to impose measures. We believe in standing by drivers and truckers who deserve good wages. We will expect the laws to be respected. Over 1,000 inspections and awareness activities have been carried out since 2023. Our priority is to ensure safety on the roads.
Lethbridge.
Here's what we know. We know that every dollar that this Prime Minister spends, it drives up inflation, which increases the cost of living for Canadians. He said he'd be judged by the prices at the grocery store. Well, the report card is in, and it's a big F, failure. I'm talking about Susie in my riding. She's a senior and she's finding it difficult to be able to afford both rent and groceries. She's worked hard her entire life to make a go of it, and she's been rather successful until now. Now she's in this position where she's actually having to choose to skip meals in order to be able to pay her rent. That's not right. We live in Canada. It's the richest country, one of the richest countries in the world. Why is it that under this government, people like Susie are struggling so much?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary, the Minister of Finance.
I have good news for Susie and that member's riding, and good news for all Canadians. This morning, our Prime Minister announced a package of more affordability measures, including an extension and making a permanence of the National School Food Program, which is great news for all Canadians. This is a program that feeds 400,000 more kids per year. I know the member opposite has voted against this program in the past, but I can't understand how she can stand up here and try to lecture the Liberal Party on standing up for Canadians on affordability.
The Honourable Member for Lethbridge.
This member just told me that I should go back to my riding and tell Susie, a senior in my riding who has worked hard her entire life to be able to make ends meet, now can't pay for rent and groceries, therefore is skipping meals. This member just told me that I should tell her that she should enroll back in grade school so that she can take advantage of this government's bureaucratic school program? That's what this member just told me. Is he for real? Is he for real? If this is the definition of success, I'd hate to see the definition of failure.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Finance. Order.
I'm happy to clarify to the member opposite, there's a package of 3 affordability measures, and one includes automatic tax filing, which will help millions of Canadians, including seniors, to access benefits to which they're entitled. That's thousands of dollars for many Canadians, including the Canada Child Benefit, the GST rebate, the disability benefit, and many other benefits that Canadians will be able to take advantage of because of this government's actions. Automatic tax filing will make it easier for Canadians all across this country to access the benefits.
The honourable member for Cambridge.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister said Canadians should judge him by the cost at the grocery store. Well, they have, and he's failed. In Cambridge, the food bank saw over 23,000 visits last year, a 114% increase. One-third of those visits were children and youth, and 43% were first-time users, families who's never used the food bank before, now lining up for food. Even people with jobs can't afford groceries because the Prime Minister continues to take their lunch money to wine and dine abroad. If this is what success looks like to the Prime Minister, what does failure look like?
Parliamentary Secretary.
Wow! In addition to 60,000 net new jobs added to the Canadian economy, we've now announced more affordability measures for Canadians that will put money in their pockets. A national school food program made permanent for in perpetuity will benefit Canadians to the tune of $800 per year. That's helping put food in hungry bellies of kids all across Canada. I can't understand how the Conservative Party can try to lecture us about food bank lineups and then stand up and vote over and over in this House against feeding hungry children.
Gentleman member for Cambridge.
Mr. Speaker, that wasn't an answer. This government took food off Canadian tables, then built a bureaucracy to take credit for giving some of the crumbs back. They talk about all these programs, but if they were working, then a third of the people using food banks in Cambridge wouldn't be children. In my community, I've met parents who are working full-time, still skipping meals so their kids can eat. They're not failing, they're being failed. So on their behalf, I'll ask, why is it no longer a guarantee that a full-time job will put food on the table for families?
Parliamentary Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, we know that income security actually touches a lot of people in Canada. It's one of the reasons why today we've announced that the National School Food Program, a program that is going to help feed nearly 500,000 kids, is being made permanent. That program is going to save families up to $800 a year. But we're also making progress on another important driver of income insecurity, and that is housing. We're going to be building affordable housing at a scale that not seen since the World War II. If the member opposite cares about affordability for families, then they need to get on board and help us build the housing, bring down the rent, bring down the costs. That will help.
The honourable member for York Centre.
Just before the Prime Minister left Brookfield, he made sure that Brookfield headquarters left for the United States. The Prime Minister loves creating jobs in the United States. That's why youth unemployment rose in September to 14.7%. In Ontario alone, 17,000 young people lost their jobs. In fact, youth employment rate is sitting at a level not seen since 1999, with brief exception for the pandemic. But with young people unable to find work, the Prime Minister wants to send $1 trillion of investment to the United States. Why?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, Statistics Canada this morning told Canadians that last month, this new government created over 100,000 new full-time jobs. That's an achievement. That is progress. This government is committed to building a strong Canadian economy, the strongest one in the G7. That involves creating major projects, building affordable housing. These are plans that are going to help employ tens of thousands of people and create career-starting jobs for all Canadians. At the same time, we're investing in apprenticeships and we're investing in co-ops. Why won't the members opposite vote in favour of these plans?
The member for York Centre.
Tell that to the 15% of young people in Toronto who can't find a job. But Speaker, with $54 billion of net investment fleeing Canada, the Prime Minister is leaving Canada's automotive workers destitute. With job losses at GM and Stellantis, we now learn that the auto tariffs are here to stay. Christmas is just around the corner, but thousands of Ontario's auto workers are on the chopping block. Why did this Prime Minister sell out Ontario's auto workers?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, Canada currently enjoys the best deal among the U.S.'s trading partners. This is not up for debate. However, as the member would like to see us do, our government is committed to ongoing negotiations and to securing greater tariff relief for all our industries. We are laser focused on protecting Canadian businesses and Canadian workers. Trade discussions are ongoing, and we will not apologize for it. Thank you.
Member of Kamloops, Shuswap, Central Rockies.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians wouldn't need food banks except for failed Liberal policies. Year over year, youth employment is up 1.2%. BC's forestry workers are worried they may be next. Almost 10 years ago, the Foreign Affairs Minister was to come up with a framework within 100 days. And this new Prime Minister promised, quote, to negotiate a win. Instead, softwood lumber tariffs have doubled. Why won't the PM fight for Canadian lumber mills and the families and jobs that they create?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Energy.
Mr. Speaker, we've announced amazing programs to help the forest industry. And we have $700 million to help them in liquidity. We have $500 million to help them with the transformation, and $50 million to help our workers in the industry. We will not rest until we help all of our industry affected by tariff. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Gaspé-Île-les-Îles-de-la-Madeleine-Listegouge. Mr. Speaker, the Gaspé has been left behind by Via Rail, which is refusing to restore its service to our region, despite the fact that it gets $1.3 billion worth of federal support specifically so that they can operate regional lines, despite the fact that Quebec invested $355 million to repair tracks all the way up to Port Daniel. Via Rail is pocketing Ottawa's money given so that it could serve rural regions, but it's refusing to provide service and do right by the Gaspé. Will the government demand that Via Rail restore its service between Matapédia and Port Daniel as soon as possible? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Thank you for that question.
Our government supports and believes in the importance of passenger rail service. Mr. Speaker, Via Rail is committed to returning to Gaspé as soon as the rehabilitation work on the rail infrastructure has been completed and service can resume safely all the way to Gaspé.
The Honourable Member for Rimouski-La-Matapédia. Mr. Speaker, Via Rail gets $1.3 billion from Ottawa to, among other things, operate regional lines. But they have invested nothing to improve services in eastern Quebec. In Rimouski, the train comes only 3 times a week, around 2 o'clock in the morning. Imagine, this is completely disconnected from the reality of what is a regional hub. It's also disconnected from the reality of people who need to travel for medical treatment, school, or family visits. Since this government is paying Via Rail to serve rural areas, will it demand that they stop ignoring eastern Quebec? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Thank you for that question.
The importance of rail is important to us. It's important to the people of Gaspé. Connection connects all of us to job, recreation, and other. We are committed to rail rehabilitation. We'll continue to be committed to rail rehabilitation. Why? Because it's the right thing to do to build Canada strong.
The Honourable Member for Montmorency-Charlevoix. Mr. Speaker, Quebecers have always been proud of living in safe communities, but the most recent statistics show a significant rise in crime, including violent crimes like home invasions. In Montmorency-Charlevoix, a region where tourism is important, and tourists repeat how safe they feel in our region, this is a worrying trend. Prevention is important in health, but it's also important in crime prevention. The Liberals are releasing criminals time and time again, and this represents a risk for public safety. When will Liberals stop minimizing violence in our communities? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Mr. Speaker, Canadians deserve to feel safe in their communities. We agree on that. Our government is going after violent reoffenders. We will table a new bill that will reform the bail system, as well as sentencing and the effectiveness of our courts. We are working in close collaboration with provinces and territories to reform the bail system and sentencing. We will give the police and Crown prosecutors the tools they need to keep violent reoffenders off our streets. The Honourable Member. In Quebec, We often talk about crocodile tears. You cannot cause a problem and then say how you feel you are in solidarity with the victims. Canadians and Quebecers don't just want crocodile tears and empty words. We want real change. Strong measures, effective measures, and ambitious measures to bring down crime and truly ensure that people are safe. We also want to ensure the safety of victims all throughout Canada. When will we see this? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Mr. Speaker, Conservatives like to play with their numbers, so here's a statistic for them. The United States has 3 times more the number of homicides as Canada, including violent crimes committed with weapons. So how come Conservatives are always copying their measures from the United States when we know that it doesn't work? Mr. Speaker, Canadians want Canadian methods to bring down crime, and we will provide them. Our government is committed to bringing down crime.
Weak Liberal bail laws like Bill C-75 require courts to release repeat violent offenders at the earliest possible opportunity under the least onerous condition. Now, just days ago, a man in New York was violently injured during a home invasion, and one of the accused was already out on bail for crimes as serious as attempted murder. Now, this Prime Minister promised Liberals would flip-flop on bail, but that was just the same old Liberal trick. You guys know, the one where they promise one thing but do nothing. So 6 months after he took power, Liberal bail laws are still on the books. Will the Prime Minister scrap Liberal bail or get out of the way so we could do it for them?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, I think it's time for a quick criminal law lesson for the member opposite. As they know, Canada follows common law rules, and so the principle of restraint that they keep citing was already law way before C-75, as confirmed by the Supreme Court in the case of Antic 2017. In our laws, it is clear that an accused person may be denied bail when detention is necessary for the protection of the safety of the public. That's Section 515, Paragraph 10 of the Criminal Code. I don't have my code with me here today, but I'll be happy to email the article to my colleague.
The Honourable Member for Vaughan Woodbridge.
We'll take no lessons from the Liberals on bail reform when, because of their laws in places like Vancouver, you had the same 40 criminals arrested 6,000 times in 1 year. Now, while the Liberals claim they're consulting on bail reform, but Canadians aren't waiting for meetings. They need action now. Since weak Liberal laws have been put on the books, violent crime is up 50%. Innocent people are dying. Bailey McCourt was murdered just hours after her abuser was released on bail. How many more victims will it take? Now, will the Prime Minister do the right thing, scrap Liberal bail, stop obstructing, or get out of the way so we can do it for them?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, I've risen already before, and the party opposite says for them to do the work. Let them do the work. These Conservatives have adopted 6 crime bills during their time in government, and every single one of them was struck down by the Supreme Court, Mr. Speaker, including the most recent one in 2023 in the Hills decision. The member opposite should do his homework and get informed. Mr. Speaker, let me assure this House that on this side of the House, we are working on serious bail reform in collaboration with the provinces and the territories and law enforcement. It will be fully constitutional on repeat violent offenders. This is the kind of leadership
The Honourable Member for Richmond Centre, Marpole.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberals' taxpayer-funded safe supply is anything but safe. In British Columbia, these drugs are flooding the black market, funding organized crime, and feeding the very addiction crisis they claim to solve. This Liberal government is subsidizing the drug trade, while the public safety minister refuses to acknowledge this public safety crisis. When will this Liberal government end their reckless drug supply schemes that is poisoning Canadians and pouring profits in the hands of criminals?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Monsieur le Président, tout le monde au Canada. Everyone in Canada deserves to be safe and to feel safe. This is why we give police services and the CBSA the resources and the tools they need to fight against crime, whether it be to fight fentanyl trafficking, the importing of illegal firearms, money laundering, cybercrime, etc. We are acting. Canadians elected the Liberal Party of Canada because they know they can count on us to ensure their safety.
Member for Mississauga, East Cooksville.
Mr. Speaker, champions lift up their communities. And over the last few weeks, we've seen the Toronto Blue Jays lift up the spirits of Canadians from coast to coast to coast with their ALDS championship win over the New York Yankees. But the Blue Jays organization isn't just about winning ball games. Can the Secretary of State for Sport update this House of Commons on his work with the Jays Care Foundation to bring sports opportunities to more youth across Canada?
The Honourable Secretary of State, Sport.
Thank my friend and fellow Team Canada Olympian for his question and his dedication to community sport. He's right. Champions lift our communities up, and the Jays Care Foundation is making baseball and softball more inclusive and accessible right across Canada. Through Sport Canada's Community Sport for All initiative, our government has co-invested $450,000 with the Jays Care Foundation for a $1 million impact to ensure that young women and girls, Indigenous youth, persons with disabilities, justice-involved youth, and lower-income families all benefit from the power of sport. So, to the Blue Jays, can I get a Let's Go Blue Jays on 3? 1, 2, 3. Let's go Blue Jays!
The Honourable Member for Kitchener South Hespeler.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberals are breaking their campaign promise to stand up for auto workers and to stand up against tariffs. This week, we all saw the Prime Minister sit down in the Oval Office, meekly nodding while President Trump threatened to steal more of our auto workers' jobs. I didn't see any elbows go up. I saw a promise to send another $1 trillion of Canadian investment over to the USA as a reward for Trump's aggression. Canadian auto workers expected to see more fight than that. Why is the Prime Minister letting them down?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary for Canada-US Trade.
Here we go again, Mr. Speaker. I want to reiterate that Canada currently enjoys the best trade agreement with the U.S. This is not up for debate. However, we're not entirely pleased, and discussions are ongoing. Because as you know, the Prime Minister has consistently emphasized we will only accept the best agreement for Canada. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The member for Kitchener South Hespeler.
Mr. Speaker, none of those words provide material support to the 8,000 of my neighbors in my hometown who work at the largest car plant in Canada. They depend on those jobs to put food on the table this Thanksgiving. They depend on those jobs to pay the rent at the end of the month. Let me be clear, this plant cannot survive the current tariff regime, and the Trump officials said the regime is staying. We're in extra innings now. Will the Prime Minister fight for these jobs before the game is over?
The Parliamentary Secretary, Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Is focused on protecting Canadian jobs, workers, and businesses. We have stabilized supply chains through initiatives like our Strategic Response Fund. We've provided direct support to our affected industries, just like steel, aluminum, manufacturing industries, auto, and agriculture. We are doing this all while maintaining Canada's inviolable fiscal position and triple credit rating. We are Canada strong.
The member for Niagara Falls, Niagara-on-the-Lake.
After 10 years of this Liberal government, Canada has the fastest shrinking economy of any G7 country. Since the Prime Minister's visit to Washington, the U.S. Commerce Secretary stated car assembly is going to be in America, and there is nothing Canada can do about it. This Liberal Prime Minister recently promised the President $1 trillion of new investment would flow into the United States. So, are those the jobs of Canadian auto workers, including those at the GM plant in St. Catharines?
Parliamentary Secretary to Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, our government is standing up for auto workers in all tariff-impacted industries in Canada. We've put out a package of supports to support industries, offered a remissions framework, and much, much more. But today I want to highlight some good news for all Canadians regarding affordability. We've made the National School Food Program permanent. That'll feed 400,000 more kids in perpetuity, Mr. Speaker. We are also offering automated tax filings for Canadians so that millions of Canadians can get access to supports like the Canada Child Benefit. That's going to help families across the country, Mr. Speaker.
The member for Niagara Falls, Niagara-on-the-Lake.
That member should talk to the residents in his riding that lost their job when GM cut the third shift in Oshawa. Exactly. This summer, GM announced plans to invest $4 billion in 3 auto plants. That doesn't include the $800 million in Tonawanda, New York, just across the border from us. And it's not St. Catharines. As billions of dollars flee Canada for the U.S., Canadian auto workers are watching in dismay. why does this Prime Minister seem more interested in helping U.S. auto workers than those here at home?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, apparently common sense does not survive the Conservative caucus any longer. It seems like common sense is not so common over there. Common sense would suggest that when a country is in a trade war, a responsible government would support its workforce and industries, which is exactly what this government has been doing. We launched a $5 billion strategic response fund, a reskilling and retraining program for up to 50,000 workers, $10 billion of liquidity support, a remissions framework, a Buy Canadian policy. We are doing the heavy lifting to ensure that our industries survive.
The Honourable Member for Dufferin-Caledon.
Yesterday, we retreated to an incredibly embarrassing display as the Prime Minister stood here and bragged about a 10% tariff on Canadian auto. I had the privilege of meeting with Unifor auto workers earlier this week, and they told me a 10% tariff on auto will mean the end of the Canadian auto industry. Wow. So either the Prime Minister is unbelievably uninformed about what will hurt the auto industry, or he actually doesn't care when President Trump says he wants to take the auto sector. Is that why the Prime Minister is going to send $1 billion of investment to the United States so they can build more auto jobs for the Americans?
Yeah, good question. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary, the Government House Leader.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Conservatives need a reality check.
That's right.
At the end of the day, there were 60,000 jobs created. Almost half of those are in the manufacturing industry. When the leader of the Conservative Party sat with Stephen Harper, the manufacturing industry was devastated in the province of Ontario. Don't try to give us a lesson when we have a Prime Minister that understands the needs of Canadians. That's why we're building Canada strong.
Order. The Honourable Member for Dufferin-Caledon.
Giving them a lesson would imply that they could actually learn something, Mr. Speaker, so we're not going to try. Here are the facts. GM just laid off 750 workers. The Brampton Stellantis assembly plant has been on layoff for 8 months waiting for retooling money. Meanwhile, Stellantis just is going to invest $10 billion in the United States. Why? Because the Prime Minister has failed to negotiate an agreement with the United States after promising elbows up. Is this also why he's promising $1 trillion of investment into the United States? Is that so Stellantis and other companies can build more factories there? Why have they abandoned auto workers in Canada?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, here are the facts. While the Conservatives go around telling people that Canada is broken when Canada is the best place in the world to call home, here are the facts. We have a Prime Minister that is committed to major developments, 5 major projects, $60 billion worth of investments. All regions of Canada, we're building Canada strong, and we're going to wait till we can get the best deal for Canadians. We're not on the Conservative agenda, we're on the Canadians agenda, and that means materializing and building our country, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for North Island, Powell River.
Mr. Speaker, the coastal forest industry is in crisis. Harvest volumes have been cut in half. 9 mills have closed, and thousands of hardworking Canadians have lost their jobs. And what the people want to know is, where is the federal government? The PM promised to, quote, negotiate a win with the United States. Instead, lumber tariffs have doubled since he became Prime Minister. Meanwhile, permitting and legal issues have only gotten worse. How many more forestry workers across BC have to lose their jobs until this Liberal government comes up with a plan that actually works?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the Canadian government is right there with Canadian workers and affected Canadian communities. We've announced $50 million in supports for workers, $700 million in liquidity support, and $500 million to innovate both products and markets. We are more than happy to work with the members opposite if they have ideas to continue to support the forestry sector, but we haven't heard any, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for North Island, Powell River.
We're one pulp mill closure away from the total collapse of coastal forestry. That is a quote from Kermit Dahl, the mayor of Campbell River, articulating just how dire the situation has become. On Vancouver Island, every single mill is running at reduced capacity due to lack of fiber and crippling tariffs. Tariffs that this Prime Minister promised to have removed by July 21st. Instead, they have increased by 100%. What does the Prime Minister have to say to the thousands of Canadian forestry families he's selling out by not keeping his word?
Good question.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Energy.
Mr. Speaker, we've been clear that the U.S. tariff on Canadian softwood lumber are absolutely unjustified, and we're working at every level to resolve the softwood lumber dispute. I've got 40 years of experience in business, and never, ever do I negotiate in public. That's what our Prime Minister is doing to support all of our workers. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
The member for Vernon Lake Country, Monashee.
Mr. Speaker, has the Prime Minister ever had to have to choose between buying groceries and paying the rent? Has he ever felt the panic of not knowing how to make it till the end of the month? That's the reality for thousands of BC forestry workers this winter, while he jets around the world handing out jobs to his wealthy friends and making concessions to the Americans. He bragged that his elbows would stand up to Trump, but Canadians are worse than ever since his elbows arrived. So I have to ask, how many BC lumber workers will lose their jobs because of this Prime Minister's failures, and why won't he fight for Canadian families?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Energy.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister is going across the world finding new trade deals and new markets for Canadian products, including forestry products. This is part of a diversification effort that is backed by $500 million that is going to support new markets and new innovations. We've got supports for workers, $50 million. We've got liquidity support, $700 million. And we want to work with people to find more and do more, but we haven't heard any ideas from the opposition here. So I'd welcome them at any time.
Member for Prescott, Russell, Cumberland.
Monsieur le Président, Mr. Speaker, Canadians have chosen this new Liberal government to reduce costs. Investing in families helps them get ahead. Not the Conservative Party's approach of cutting benefits. Can the Parliamentary Secretary tell us how we are achieving this?
Parliamentary.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. I'd like to thank my colleague for Prescott Russell Cumberland for her question. Good news, Mr. Speaker. Your new government is making the National School Food Program permanent. This will mean students will have access to nutritious food they need, and it means about $800 a year off the grocery bill for families. We are reducing costs for families so that children can thrive and parents can get ahead.
Member for Okanagan Lake West, South Kelowna.
The controversial billion-dollar loan to BC Ferries continues to take on water, thanks to a Czech News exclusive that shreds the bogus talking points that these ferries could not be built in Canada. We know that BC Ferries was presented a report that showed that Canadian shipyards could build these new vessels, creating thousands of jobs, billions in economic growth, and pride in Canada's craftsmanship. Shamefully, they rejected this Made in Canada option and instead went to communist China. With so many Canadian workers at the food bank, remind us again, why is the Prime Minister continually selling us out?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, we've expressed our disappointment with how this process went on. We were not part, this is a Crown corporation, we were not part. However, I will tell you what we did, Mr. Speaker. We did sell a policy, buy Canadian. We are encouraging all of Canadian procurement to buy Canadian. We've also launched the Defence Procurement Agency to encourage our companies. We are building Canada with Canadian workers, with Canadian material. This is how we're building a Canadian strong economy, not by peddling slogans. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Okanagan Lake West, South Kelowna.
They are cutting checks to China, Mr. Speaker. The Liberals can pretend that this was all BC Ferries' sole decision, but it was this government that created the Canadian Infrastructure Bank, filled it with billions of taxpayer dollars, allowed the loan to go forward with no questions asked. Conservatives believe the loan should be cancelled because if Canadian shipyards, Canadian steel workers, Canadian jobs don't qualify for support, then what's Canadian about it? If this government is more comfortable funding shipyards in the People's Republic of China than jobs here in Canada, why not just call it the Beijing Infrastructure Bank and be done with it?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Once again, the opposition is showing how they just want here to divide Canadian. We are standing by Canadian worker, we're standing by Canadian industry, we are investing, we launched Build Canada Home in order to build Canada affordable home. Last time Conservatives were in power, they lost 800,000 affordable homes. So please do not give us a lesson about affordability. You lost 800,000 affordable homes. They lost 800, and they built six affordable homes, Mr. So do not give us a lesson.
Again, address the comments to the chair. The honourable member for Surrey Moose Mountain.
Mr. Speaker, canola isn't just a Prairie success story. It's a national powerhouse, bigger than our steel, aluminum, and auto sectors combined. Yet while unfair Chinese tariffs continue to crush the canola sector, this Liberal government, they're silent. Not a word, not a plan, not a single success. When will the Liberals stop abandoning Canadian farmers and finally, for once, stand up for the good people who feed this country?
The Honourable Parliament Secretary, the Minister of Agriculture.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The canola is one of the best in the world, the best product, and China's tariffs are completely unfair. As we are resolving this trade dispute, Mr. Speaker, we are there to support our farmers with programs to support them. We have announced $370 million in support, and we have also changed the regulation to allow more biofuel in this country that will use the product from our canola producers. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Bravo. The honourable member for Port Moody Coquitlam.
Mr. Speaker, the world is changing. Global challenges are on the rise, and we are witnessing profound shifts affecting peace, prosperity, and cooperation around the world. The United Nations recently turned 80, and leaders from around the globe convened in New York for the General Assembly's high-level week. Could the Secretary of State for International Development update the House on the overall outlook at the UN and the discussions that he participated in?
The Honourable Secretary of State International Development.
Canada has built a strong and enduring reputation as a trusted partner in international development. For over 50 years, we have fought poverty, hunger, and disease, and have been a consistent champion for human rights, dignity, and equality. At the UN General Assembly, one thing that stood out loud and clear was the deep trust our allies and partners place in our country as one that always stands ready to support shared action on global challenges. At a time when the rules-based order is coming under strain, many are looking to Canada as a clear voice for shared progress and cooperation. Thank you.
Honourable member for Lanark Frontenac.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, if you install automated external defibrillators, or AEDs, in police cars to be used when the police are the first on the scene at a 911 call for a heart attack, you can save a lot of lives. Municipal police across Canada have been saving lives with AEDs for years. RCMP officers are already trained how to use AEDs. Equipping all RCMP vehicles nationwide with AEDs would save upwards of 300 lives per year. Therefore, after 10 years in government, why haven't the Liberals installed AEDs in all RCMP cruisers?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary, the Minister of Public Safety.
Monsieur le Président. Mr. Speaker, this is an option that has been looked at. It's fully valid. It involves costs and working with local organizations as well as the local police forces. There are similar programs in several provinces that are successful defibrillators, and AEDs are an effective way to save lives.
The member for Vancouver Kingsway.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. September's job numbers are out, and it's more bad news. Unemployment remains at a 10-year high, and the situation is getting worse for young people who face the highest unemployment rate since 2010. 1 in 6 youth are out of work, with many more underemployed and unable to gain experience in their chosen careers. This is not only unfair to them, it's damaging our economy as their skills and talents go untapped. What is this government doing to address this unprecedented jobs crisis, especially for young Canadians?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, today's job numbers are actually good for Canadians. They show that there are 60,000 net new jobs, 100,000 new jobs in full-time work, and over 28,000 new jobs in manufacturing. This government is squarely focused on young people and making sure that we're going to have good career-building jobs for the future. That's why we are making major investments right now in major projects right across the country, building homes at a scale we haven't seen since World War II. These are the type of initiatives that are going to create tens of thousands of good jobs for Canadians going forward. Thank you.
Member for Vancouver Kingsway.
Well, higher unemployment for young people is not good news. Yesterday, I met with the Elbows Up for Climate Coalition, a national group of mayors calling for federal investments to prevent and mitigate the ravages of climate change. They explained the real costs of failing to do so, including catastrophic destruction in places like Jasper, to the high cost of food due to crop failure and drought. Folks can't get insurance and they need help to retrofit their homes. Will this government help their communities take action on the climate and put young people to work through the NDP's Youth Climate Corps?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary, the Minister of Environment and Climate Change.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And every time I come out here, I talk to the last two people I talk to are my children, 17 and 14, and I think about their future. And I know this Liberal government has a strong message that we want to fight, protect, and build Canada strong while protecting our environment. And that's the commitment I have for them. That's the commitment this side has for all children and youth right across this country, that this country will be one that's even better and brighter for them to inherit in this generation and next generation. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Order, and that concludes question period for today. Routine business. The Honourable Member for Sherwood Park, Fort Saskatchewan, on a point of order.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. During question period, the Parliamentary Secretary claimed that the jobs numbers were good news for young people. And actually, they show a significant increase. I would like to request the permission of the House to table the actual jobs report.
I'll just indicate that there's already clearly not unanimous consent. Seeing no more points of order, we'll carry on with routine proceedings. Depot, happy Thanksgiving as well. Depot.
Tabling of documents. Introduction of government bills.
Reports from interparliamentary committees. Dépôt de projet.
Presenting reports from committees.
Senate public bills. Mr. Hussein, seconded by Mr. Lamoureux, moves that Bill S-227, an act respecting Arab Heritage Month, be now read a first time. The Honourable Member for York South-Weston Etobicoke.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I rise today to introduce Bill S-227, an act respecting Arab Heritage Month. If passed, this bill would designate April of every year as Arab Heritage Month across Canada. I want to thank Senator Mohammed Al-Zaibak for reintroducing this important bill in the other place, and I want to thank the member for Winnipeg North Centre for seconding it, and the member for